Welcome to Miss Menashkin's Read Aloud. Today's book, Miss Daisy is Crazy by Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Paylott.
Hey Monta Vista, it's Miss Menashkin here, and I am here today to read to you the story, Miss Daisy is Crazy. Now this book is a chapter book, so I won't be reading it all today. We'll just read the first couple of chapters, and then you can keep tuning in day after day for the week until the book is complete. I do hope you enjoy it. It is written by Dan Gutman. Miss Daisy is Crazy. And our title page, author Dan Gutman, pictures by Jim Paylott. Our table of contents, we have 12 chapters, and like I said today, we're just going to read the first two. So to start off, we have pictures of some of our students, AJ, Emily, Ryan, Andrea, and Michael. I hate school. My name is AJ. I like football and video games, and I hate school. Our teacher, Miss Daisy, was taking attendance. It was the first day of second grade. Miss Daisy told everyone in the class to stand up, say our name, and say something about ourselves. All the kids laughed when I said I hated school, but there was nothing funny about it. I have learned a lot in my 8 years. One thing I learned is that there is no reason why kids should have to go to school. If you ask me, kids can learn all we need to learn by watching TV. You can learn important information, like which breakfast cereals taste best, and what toys you should buy, and which shampoo leaves your hair the shiniest. This is stuff that we'll need to know when we grow up. School is just this ridiculous thing that grown-ups thought up so they wouldn't have to pay for babysitters. When I grow up and have children of my own, I won't make them go to school. They can just ride their bikes and play football and video games all day. They'll be happy and they'll think I'm the greatest father in the world. But for now, I wanted to let my new teacher, Miss Daisy, know from the very start how I felt about school. You know what, AJ? Miss Daisy said. I hate school too. You do? We all stared at Miss Daisy. I thought teachers loved school. If they didn't love school, why did they become teachers? Why would they ever want to go to a school as a grown-up? I know that when I'm a grown-up, I'm not going to go anywhere near a school. Sure, I hate school, Miss Daisy continued. If I didn't have to be here teaching you, I could be home sitting on my comfortable couch, watching TV and eating bonbons. Wow, we all said. What's a bonbon? Asked Ryan, a kid with black sneakers who was sitting next to me. Bonbons are these wonderful chocolate treats, Miss Daisy told us. They're about the size of a large acorn, and you can pop the whole thing right in your mouth so you don't need a napkin. I could eat a whole box of bonbons in one sitting. They sound delicious, said Andrea Young, a girl with curly brown hair. She was sitting up real straight in the front of the class with her hands folded like they were attached to each other. Miss Daisy seemed like a pretty cool lady for a teacher. Anybody who hated school and liked to sit around watching TV and eating chocolate treats was okay by me. Me and Miss Daisy had a lot in common. Maybe going to school wouldn't be so terrible after all. Crazy Miss Daisy and Principal Klutz, Chapter 2. Miss Daisy said it was time for us to clear off our desks and see how much we knew about arithmetic. Ugh. If I gave you 58 apples and Principal Klutz took 28 of them away, Miss Daisy asked, how many apples would you have left, AJ? Who cares how many apples you would have left, I said. I hate apples. If you ask me, you and Principal Klutz can take all the apples and it wouldn't bother me one bit. You would have 30 apples, said that girl Andrea Young in the front of the class. She had a big smile on her face, like she had just opened all her birthday presents. Andrea Young thinks she's so smart. I hate arithmetic, I announced. You know what, Miss Daisy said? I hate arithmetic too. You do, we all said. Sure. How do you even know what you get if you multiply 4 times 4? You don't? I have no idea, Miss Daisy said, scratching her head and wrinkling up her forehead like she was trying to figure it out. Maybe one of you kids can explain it to me. Boy, Miss Daisy really didn't know anything. Even I know what you get when you multiply 4 times 4. But that smarty pants I know everything girl Andrea Young beat me to it and got called on first. If you put 4 crayons in a row, she told Miss Daisy as she put a bunch of crayons on the top of her desk, and you make 4 rows of 4 crayons, you'll have 16 crayons, see? Then she counted the crayons from 1 to 16. Miss Daisy looked at the crayons on Andrea's desk. She had a puzzled look on her face. I'm not sure I understand, she said. Can somebody else explain it to me? Michael Robinson, the kid wearing a red t-shirt with a dirt bike on it, explained 4 times 4 again, using pencils. He had 16 pencils on his desk and 4 rows of 4 pencils. Miss Daisy still had a look on her face like she didn't understand. What would happen if you subtracted half of the pencils, she asked. Michael took away 2 of the rows of pencils and put them in his pencil box. Then you would have 8 pencils. Andrea Young added, half of 16 is 8. Miss Daisy wrinkled up her forehead almost until it looked like an accordion. She still didn't get it. She started counting the pencils on Michael's desk out loud and using her fingers. She got it all wrong. We gathered around Michael's desk and tried to explain to Miss Daisy how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers using the pencils. Nothing worked. Miss Daisy had to be the most ridiculous teacher in the history of the world. No matter how many times we tried to explain, she kept shaking her head. I'm sorry, she said. It will take me a while to understand arithmetic. Maybe you can explain it to me more tomorrow. For now, we have to clean off our desks because Principal Klutz is coming to come in and talk to us. I know all about principals. My friend Billy from around the corner, who was in 2nd grade last year, told me that the principal is like the king of the school. He runs everything. Billy says that if you break the rules, you have to go to the principal's office, which is in a dungeon down in the basement. Kids in the dungeon get locked up and forced to listen to their parents' old CDs for hours. It must be horrible. Miss Daisy told us to be on our best behavior so Principal Klutz would see how mature we were. Finally, he walked into our room. Welcome to the 2nd grade, he said cheerfully. I'm sure we are all going to have a wonderful year together. Principal Klutz said a lot of stuff about the rules of the school. We're not allowed to run in the halls, and we're not allowed to chew gum, stuff like that. But I wasn't listening very closely because I kept staring at his head. He had no hair at all. I mean, none. His head looked like a giant egg. When Principal Klutz was all done telling us the rules of the school, he asked if anybody had any questions about what he had said. Did all your hair fall out of your head, I asked, or did you cut it off? Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. Miss Daisy looked at me with a mean face. Actually, it was both. Almost all of my hair fell out on its own, so I decided to shave the rest of it off. That's the saddest story I ever heard, said this girl named Emily as she burst into tears. Don't feel bad, Principal Klutz said. It could have been a lot worse. How? Sniffled Emily. Well, at least my brain didn't fall out of my head. We all laughed, even Emily. Principal Klutz was a pretty funny guy, for a principal. Any other questions? Do you have a dungeon down in the basement where you put the bad kids, I asked. Actually, the dungeon is on the 3rd floor, Principal Klutz replied. Nobody laughed this time. He quickly told us that he was just making a joke, and that he didn't even have a dungeon at all. Principal Klutz must have felt bad that we didn't think his joke was funny, because he invited us all up to the front of the room to touch his bald head. We did, and that made everybody feel a lot better. Principal Klutz seemed nice, but a lot of people seem nice when you first meet them. Then later, you find out that they are evil villains who plan to take over the world. I bet he was lying about the dungeon. And that is the end of chapter 2. So tune in next time for the next few chapters and find out just how crazy is Miss Daisy. Bye!